Yep.
Yeah, didn't you have something you wanted to bring up?
I did, and it was that. Let me check my notes here.
You actually have a note on that?
Nope. Let me check my notes in my head, and I quote. John said, "You can you should disrespect family."
That
Okay, I'm just kidding.
no,
He said,
I did not say it that way.
He said once you become family, you can disrespect them.
That's an entirely different sentence.
Okay, well, it was that close. That was closer. You said something along the lines of like, now that we're family, it can disrespect you.
Not now that we're.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That I should disrespect you. I said.
Could.
I said.
Good.
Now that we're family, you don't need to like play that.
Oh no! You said you don't need to. I don't need to respect you, is what you said. I don't think you meant it that way.
I don't mean it that way.
I know,
yes,
but you did
yes,
say.
yes.
Now that
But
we're family,
you said we disagree on it.
You don't need to respect me.
And you're like, I disagree. I'm trying to worm my way out of this. I mean more. Once you're family, you don't have to play the like. What's the word? Like the honorifics or like the word I ended up using was respect, but you don't have to play the whole.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you know the word I'm looking for?
It's
It's like being formal. Like it's like being
well, it's like when you go to someone's house,
Yeah.
right? And you go out of your way to be respectful in their house because you want to be mindful but the only thing I can think of is like honestly the Japanese, how they're very polite, overly polite, because they don't want to cause offense, they don't want to cause abrasion, whatever the case is. I don't know the term for it, but
Yeah, but also like you'll see in like anime, you'll see where the closer, for example, two people are, the more they'll drop. Like how they'll like address each other by like last names.
Sure.
And then it'll be a sign of closeness that they address each other less formal, more casually.
Right.
They'll address each other by like first names and things like that.
Yeah.
Which you don't really see here in the West, but like I think my point still stands. I think the closer you are, if like not necessarily me and you, but if we're indeed close, if we're family, to the level it should be, then like the more you're able to be like yourself, the less the more comfortable you are.
Yeah.
And I would also like add this. I think it's the closer you are, the more you're aware of somebody's personal boundaries, and you're able to be more comfortable like playing around them.
Yeah.
Like for example, like a bunch of my buds would come over back in high school, and they would come over unannounced. If it was like stranger, obviously that's odd, but because we're close, they can just like, hey, I'm outside your door, or just knock on the door. It's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, and then they come in, and then like they'll just raid my fridge.
Well, you also came in while I was taking a nap into my apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
And I woke up.
If I was a stranger, like I mean. Mind you were still scared, but
I don't.
Like
no.
You looked shocked. You looked like you were like, oh,
no,
like your reaction wasn't
okay. But to be honest, like I think I don't know. Maybe you did or didn't know, but I was playing it up because I thought it was funny.
Okay.
But I genuinely was surprised you were there. I wasn't scared you were there, but I was very surprised because
it was still
because I was
scared.
asleep with you not there, and then I woke up and you were there, and I was like, oh shit, like.
Well, maybe we should.
How'd you get in here?
Maybe you should lock your door more.
Yeah.
I came in here today also with.
But I knew you were coming over, so.
Yeah. But see, that's also trust.
I know,
but like a stranger, even if I invited a stranger, I wouldn't leave my door open. I would still want that like.
What about house parties?
Oh, that's different.
I know. I understand.
Come on.
I know. I've already conceded in my brain. I already know that you're correct. I know you're right.
Yeah, but you said you disagreed. So what was the disagreement?
Well, the disagreement was with your words. You said respect. I think it just needed clarification. I just thought it would be funny to call it out because you said you don't need to respect your family. obviously you should respect your family.
Obviously. Yes.
But
Yes.
but in terms of like, I would never, like, I don't know, like with my sister, I wouldn't. We can be friends. We obviously we're very close, so like I don't have to be formal about a lot of things with her.
Yeah.
So same with you.
Yeah.
So yes, I understand. I was hoping maybe you had a more abrasive opinion, but you didn't. So
No, I think it was pretty straightforward.
yeah,
On a more broader note,
sure.
to you, what does respect mean?
Respect.
Yeah, because you'll hear like the whole like Christian household, like
Sure.
honor your family. Like,
Yeah.
and something that plagues the Asian community is where it's like where
Like-
the parents like
Yeah,
respect is about like listening or
Right.
like answering your parents, obeying.
Yeah.
So like, do you think they're correct? Do you think that's what respect is? Like true respect?
It's a good question. I never thought about that.
And that's something I'm still thinking about.
Yeah.
But I do have my own thing, but I want to see.
Well,
how
I would
pick that up.
start with like, I think it's maybe more easily recognized, like what's more easily recognized, and I would say disrespect. What typically constitutes disrespect for me? Words that immediately come to mind would be disregard, and specifically disregard to like, disregard to me as a person, right? So I think oftentimes like people might lose focus and disregard something in conversation, but I wouldn't necessarily classify that as disrespect. I think disregard would be like the disregard of me as a person. And when I'll clarify that when I say, how'd you disregard me as a person, is maybe I tell you that there's something going on in my life, and instead of acknowledging me as a person that's having that problem, you classify me as just what am I trying to say here? I think I guess I'm trying to make the distinction of like, you can't really disrespect someone's actions. You have to disrespect that person themselves. So how do you determine like, oh, you're disrespecting me? You know what I mean? Like if
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and so I think disrespect will now come down to, how do you identify when someone is disregarding you as a person, or like they're not acknowledging you as a person? Like people can do annoying things. Doesn't necessarily mean they're disrespectful. Something I don't like, but doesn't mean they're disrespecting me.
Yeah.
For example, if like me as a person appreciates like, what do you call it? I don't know. Like, let's think of Asians, right? Asian households.
Yeah.
In general, most Asians like don't allow shoes in the house, right? If you're a close friend of mine, or maybe, I don't know, like you would assume that not to use shoes in the house, but if you walk in, trekking dirt all over the floor, or whatever,
Yeah.
you could make the case that that's disrespect, because that's essential to who I am, and you're kind of in direct conflict with that. But if you really know me, I wouldn't mind, So that's not why it would not be disrespect for me,
Yeah.
but disrespect for someone who that is central to them.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No, yeah. So for you, respect is like respecting the like comfort and like I don't know, the comfort and like boundaries of another person, like them as a person is probably a better word.
Yeah, I think it does tie into boundaries, though. I will say I think it does tie into boundaries.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, sure, in general. Yeah.
I would say, and it's a working definition, but I think Kayla gave me a really good example where it's like, she said, for example, and so to put myself a little bit on blast. So there was one time I was waiting for Kayla after class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like there was this girl that approached me who said, like, hey, I really like your style. I think you're cute. Would you can we exchange Instagrams sort
Right.
of thing? Right.
Yeah.
I think I told you the story.
Yep.
And then I always get bad looks when I tell the story. And then the good response should have just been like, no, thank you, or just, as some of them say, is just the kicker, or just to like push her away. But in my head, I thought that, like, as long as I make it known I have a girlfriend, but then I also don't lose the opportunity of maybe a follow, just like a harmless follow. Not that it matters. Okay, just hear me out. But like, yeah. So I said, like, oh, I'm sorry, I have a girlfriend, but I'm flattered. Thank you for the compliment. But yeah, if you still wanna exchange Instagrams, like, yeah, give me a follow. I'll give you a follow, and it's like harmless, right? I thought it was just gonna be funny, or like, but then I brought it up to Kayla later.
Funny.
Hey, I wasn't thinking that
That's
much.
hilarious.
But that's where okay. But
funny, man.
that's where respect comes. Of course, that's something I would never do again. I've learned from the error of my ways.
Sure.
But I like what she said. She said, it's disrespect. When I told her, obviously she was furious, and then she didn't talk to me for a while. But then she said, when we were talking, she said that it's disrespect to me because how you act with that girl, it's less about you. It's more about how you're portraying me. It shows that like her boyfriend doesn't like value her, or her boyfriend doesn't respect her. Like, it makes it seem like it makes her look like a fool. It makes her look like easy. Like, and I think that goes both ways. Like a girl who like entertains flirting, is disrespecting her guy because she's making the guy appear like weak or small or easy to overcome. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yes, it has to do. I think it's very close. It's the idea is very closely bound to the idea of boundary, but also I think it's about respect is about
Maybe you should use projection and perception.
I'm kind of going along something of those lines, but I was getting somewhere. Like, it's like respect is about, of course, boundary, but also putting somebody else in the best light. Or actually, okay, so respect, for example, like when Japanese people like bow.
Yeah.
Like, I remember hearing somewhere like when they bow, they are putting their heads down to reveal like their neck, which is very vulnerable. And another similar thing I found out, similar thing with like people like sitting cross-legged. Apparently, like they would have like the king or the shogun, I forgot what it was called, but like would have everybody sit like cross-legged because it's hard to like get up from that stance and immediately like attack, like into attack position, because like your legs go numb.
Uh-huh.
So like I think, yes, respect has to deal with boundaries, but also has to do with like intimidation. Like it's difficult to respect someone you think is weaker than you, or someone you can like walk over, or somebody who like isn't strong on their morals, or isn't strong like in defending what they believe. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think yes, it has to deal with boundaries. Yes, it has. I think it has to deal with like somebody's image, but I think at the core of it, like getting down to the root of it, I think respect has to do with intimidation. Like
I think I know what it is, man.
Okay,
I think
what?
I know what it is. Respect is when you tip the scales of so for example,
Yeah.
right, like would you say that you are superior to Kayla as a person?
As a person?
Superior as in like you get what I'm saying? Like superior is as in like the Nazis, like they believe I'm just saying, like they believe they were superior to other races. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, in that sense, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Obviously, you can be superior to someone
in certain ways.
In certain ways,
Yeah.
yes. I'm saying person to person.
Yeah, I'm
Human
curious
to
where you're
human.
going, but sure. Like
Human
in
to
certain
human.
ways, like yes.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yes. Okay. So go to your point.
But I'm asking, like human to human, like, yeah. Actually, I'm curious. Do you think other humans are superior to other humans? Not talking about different like I'm not talking about like
The Nazi way,
physical
like
ability or
genetic.
whatever. I'm just
Uh-huh.
talking about like soul to soul. This soul is
Well,
superior
no,
to this
like
soul.
of course, like we're all equal in that sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think disrespect is I think that's what you're maintaining. Is you're maintaining equilibrium with each other. The moment that you do something that sets that equilibrium off, where for example, like if you were like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like I don't think you follow sports, do you?
But
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay,
With your
fine.
point.
There was
think
there
I
was a
don't need the
basketball
notes.
play where
Okay, go
Allen
ahead.
Iverson,
Don't know who that is, but go ahead. Go ahead.
God,
Go
wow.
ahead. Go ahead.
He crossed up this defender,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, the guy fell. He made the shot, and then he stepped over him, like he stomped over him, like disrespectfully stomped over him. Right?
Yeah.
It's very clear, like it's showing a very stark power imbalance, or like basically, like I'm better than you, like I am superior, whatever.
Oh,
So what I'm saying is that
I think you got it. Yeah,
respect
keep
and
going.
disrespect is like
No.
the balance that you have with each other. Like, for example, if I recognize that something's making you uncomfortable in the way that like it's clearly signifying like, like in a way like putting you in your place or like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like that's where the disrespect and you can look at it with like parents, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that some cultures will say, "Look me in my eyes,"
Mm-hmm.
right? It's because if they believe that if you're looking away, it means you're not giving them the time of day.
Yeah.
Basically, you think they're beneath you.
Yeah.
Right. And in some cultures, they think giving you eye contact is proper because it means you're giving them the attention.
Yeah.
Right. But essentially, what they're saying is like disrespect is when you say someone's beneath you, or again in that same way, so you're above somebody, they're beneath you, and disrespect is just that balance of equilibrium between essentially like equality with each other.
Yeah, and that
Right.
kind of has to do with the boundaries.
And then think about like the army,
Yeah.
right? Like you respect your elders
Yeah.
because there is a power imbalance of like you respect your teachers. Why? Because there's a power imbalance. That's
Well,
why there's
yeah, but I think you hit on the nail with the it's maintaining equilibrium, but I think equilibrium in this sense is respecting like other people's like because we talked about how some people are superior in some senses,
Yeah.
but I would see it more as like roles or acknowledging like people's value. Like I bring something to the table, you bring something to the table, right? And respecting each other's domains or territory, right? For example, like the elder like dynamic, right? You acknowledge that they have more experience over you, have more time over you, right? So then there's that equilibrium because you're acknowledging the imbalance, you're acknowledging like we're both on these sides, and you're essentially creating like a barrier, not a barrier, a boundary between the two when it comes to who's more experienced versus who is inexperienced. When you cross the line, so to speak, is when you disrespect the person. In other words, I don't acknowledge your teaching. I don't acknowledge your lessons. I don't acknowledge your authority, sort of thing. That's when you're overpassing it. The question I'd follow up with, but it would be, for example, in Asian households.
No, I actually okay. So hear me out. I actually think disrespect really is just the balance, because you can disrespect someone's authority.
Yeah.
You can disrespect someone's position, right? But you can also disrespect that person regardless of their position, right? Like so, for example, like what I mean by that is like, let's say in like the job in the workplace,
Yeah.
right? Like sexual harassment is clearly disrespectful. You're disrespecting that person's autonomy and right to like their body and whatever, right? Like you're disrespecting one part, right? But then you can also disrespect if they're like a senior person, shooting down the idea, calling them whatever. The point is that you can disrespect. I think you were saying, like roles,
Mm-hmm.
authority, but I think you can also disrespect the person at their core as well. Like, but that's the thing, and I think that's the highest form of disrespect if we're classifying it, is the idea of like if you really truly know a person, um, one, that's obviously a very vulnerable place to be for that person, but you can also dish out the highest form of disrespect is disregarding them as a person. But I wonder now I'm thinking that through as I'm saying that. I'm wondering if that's really possible, because if you really see someone, no, I think it is. I think it is. I think it is. But anyways, my point being is like I don't think we need to go. I don't actually think it goes deeper than that. I think it's the idea of like equilibrium of like again in different areas. So it could be man to man. There's a level of respect, but then there's also boss, right? Like your boss, like you would give them a level of respect at work, but maybe outside of work that dynamic changes because maybe you're just a more naturally confident person, and there's very clear like there's a little bit of a power disjoint, so to speak.
No, yeah, that's what I meant was by like the roles part is like in every interaction, I think there is through body language or like nonverbal cues, you create a sort of dynamic of a boundary between the two,
right?
And you respect that boundary. In the same way, like kind of like dogs, like there'll be a literal physical boundary between them. They'll start barking. But the moment the boundary's like, have you seen those videos like where the boundary gets taken and they stop barking? Because like now, like if they're gonna respect one another, there'll be two like sets of like small dogs on both sides. They're like barking like crazy, and because there's a gate. But then like it's one of those like automatic gates that pulled out, and then as soon as the gate like pulled away, like they all just stopped. And I would say that's like a good example of respect. Of even though the boundary isn't there, there's an unspoken boundary between us that both of us are agreeing to not cross. Like for example, man to man, there's a like I could acknowledge like you're an expert in your field, and I won't cross that because you're an expert in that field. You're more intelligent than me in that field, but then also respect me when it comes to this.
Yeah.
The moment one of us decides to cross the boundary, that is disrespect, right? Like same thing with like your superiors. I acknowledge that I'm in the role of student and you're in the role of teacher. But I think when other boundaries are crossed, for example, like you said, disrespecting somebody as a person, that's a different boundary. So for example, a teacher has decided to cross. For example, in the Asian, that's what I was getting at with the Asian household is you have the parent and child dynamic. But I think where Asian parents can cross the line is like that autonomy thing, is where it comes, where you're crossing the line of how you treat me as a person. Like, sure, we have this dynamic of parent and child, but you're supposed to nurture me, you're supposed to protect me, you're supposed to, in my best interest because you're the parent. But when you talk to me a certain way, when you treat me a certain way, that's now crossing a boundary that goes beyond, that's a different boundary than parenting.
Yeah.
And now that's you disrespecting me.
Right.
So somebody respecting their parents isn't about always listening to what they say, because depending on what they're asking of you could cross the boundary of what a parent should be.
Yeah. And I think in other ways with the teachers, I think with a teacher, like you're expected in the classroom, to what do you call it? Not disrupt the class, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain level of like respect.
You mean the
obviously.
student doesn't?
Yeah, the student. Yeah,
yeah.
the student. They allow the teacher to speak. The teacher like has the final say in a lot of things. If you're gonna go up and punch the teacher in the face, or like, I guess that's not really. Well, I would say maybe more so like tell the teacher like, hey, I stalked your social media, and like like maybe I don't know, harass them in that sense, or the teacher to the student. I mean,
Yeah.
That's beyond the teacher-student dynamic. But yeah, I think it's very evident in a lot of things. So I think I'm pretty happy with that definition. I think it makes sense to me.
No, yeah. Like for example, like I don't watch basketball, I don't play basketball, but I think that's an interesting dynamic where usually the coach is for example, in the NBA, right? I'd assume that the players are far more are better players than the actual coach themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I mean, most coaches are old, so probably. I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean, like,
I'm just kidding.
they're more successful, like, as a basketball player than their coach.
Oh yeah.
Like
In
like
most, yes.
yeah,
yes,
in
of
most
course,
cases,
of
but
course,
that's the dynamic you've set up as coach versus members, right? I've You have the role of teaching, you have the role of leader, and even though we can beat you at basketball, we're still going to take your advice because that's the roles we're placed in, and I agree to. When you start um, speaking over your coach, then you're crossing a boundary that goes beyond member, and so now you've like disrespected, and then now either you find a new coach or the coach takes out the member. It's like no, yeah, I think that was it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty good for not knowing basketball. I would say.
I know. I was like,
This is-
you know what?
this is
Like
kinda
this is
funny.
that's not my
Uh,
field of expertise, so
yeah.
I will jump off
Yeah,
this
no.
right away.
I was
like,
I was gonna say.
I was-
I was gonna say. I think yeah.
I mean, I did say I don't know.
No,
so
I know.
was
I
like,
know. I'll clarify quickly. Yes, of course, the players are better. Oh, but it ties in because you're not respecting the coach for their ability to play basketball. It's
Yeah.
not- you're respecting them for their ability to strategize
Yeah.
plays. You're respecting them for the ability to like defensive schemes,
Yeah.
like different play calling. It's very the football is way better of an example
Yeah.
because a coach is not like they're not playing the game, but they're looking at it from a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So obviously, if a coach tried to tell me, like a football coach tried to tell you how to run a route, obviously there's different kinds of coaches. I feel like we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, but again, it actually makes sense in sports because in football there's many different coaches. Obviously, if a running back coach were to come up to a quarterback and tell them, tell them off, having knowing nothing of being a quarterback, that would be a little disrespectful, right? Because they know nothing of your craft, yet they're trying to tell you how to do it. Vice versa, if a quarterback coach went up to running back, et cetera, like there's all these different dynamics and like there's specialties. So I think that's a very good way to see it play out.
So as far as we come, do you think a good definition for respect is maintaining equilibrium across the boundaries of both parties?
I would say I think respect is not actually mutual. It's one way. So for example, like we obviously have the option to respect each other, right? But just because I show you respect doesn't actually mean like you have to show. Like, I mean, granted, like is it in your best interest or like should we show respect to other people? Like yes, of course. But I think what I'm getting at is like you don't need the other person to respect you in order for you to respect them. That's why I think it's one directional. For example, I don't need like okay, think about the army, right? Like a drill sergeant and then they're maggots, right? Like the maggots don't need the drill sergeant to respect them. If anything, they're trying to earn that person's respect. Right? And so the reason I say it's one directional is like we both have a choice to respect each other and to respect those boundaries. So I would say I don't think we need to include the other person in the dynamic of respect. I think it's more of
actually no. So I'd say
yeah.
I think you know where I'm going.
Maybe.
So I think so in your own example of like the what did you say, the military commander, like
drill sergeants and the maggots.
Because if it's one way, that means you must respect them, but they actually can disrespect you. Like that's why they can call them out. You have to earn it to where they respect you. So it can go one way, but like that's why I said like, don't you think, based off what you said, come on, based off what you said earlier, respect is maintaining the equilibrium between both parties. Like, sure, it can go one way, but I think of it kind of like it's like force fields, right? There's a level of respect you have for me, and there's a level of respect I have for you. But when this like crosses mine, then that's you disrespecting me. So then therefore it isn't respect. Like, because you have, if I'm the, like, for example, if I'm the maggot and you're like the commander, that means like.
So then wouldn't that definition mean that
that
you cannot respect someone who doesn't respect you?
Yeah. Yeah. You listen to them, you don't respect them.
What about in that case with the army sergeant though? You
Mhm.
don't think like that like
Oh, okay. Actually,
you get what I'm saying? Because
can
you
see
can
it.
actually respect someone's authority.
Yeah.
Right? But like the whole point is like you can respect someone even if they don't respect you.
Yeah.
For example, parents, right? Like
Yeah.
you just respect your parents. Like
But
I
the
don't know.
reason
I
I'm
just
saying that is because is it actually respect or is it you're listening to them?
obedience.
It's obedience, not necessarily respect. Because they'll say respect me, but they're really saying obey me. Is that really respecting your parents? Because I'd say respect. I actually do like your definition of maintain of like the equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's not respect until there's an acknowledgement. Like, let's say in the wild, there's like an alpha, and then there's the followers like in a pack.
Sure.
The alpha doesn't respect the rest.
Yeah.
Like that's disrespect, and that's just superiority, inferiority, just that dynamic. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily respect. When two animals face off, like
Right.
that's respect.
Mm.
Like when two when two offer like what's the word like when two bow,
Yeah.
or when you're kind of showing your cards,
Right.
right? Like it's both showing the other we're both not. I'm not a threat. You're not a threat. That's respect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm going with that. So actually, I'm going back. I do think it has to go both ways for it to be actually respect, because I think they say respect, well, but what they really mean is obedience. Because then what would you call it any other way? They use respect in place of obedience, which is fine because it's parent-child. But then you gain the respect of your parents. Actually,
okay, question. But okay, so
you get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
over time as you grow up and you show them that you too are also an adult.
yeah.
That's how you gain the respect of the
Yeah.
parent, and then respect
Right.
is formed.
Okay, what about love though? Right?
Mhm.
So do you believe that you can love someone without them loving you? You have to say yes, brother. Because you can fall in love with someone first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So riddle me this. Riddle me this. Love is a much more complex emotion, like a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yet you can have it one directionally. Why would it not be the same for respect? Because love has to follow so many different ingredients. Respect, I think, is not that many ingredients, right? And I think you can respect someone that doesn't respect you. And I think you do it all the time. For example, when in the Philippines you walk up to an elder, right?
Mhm.
And you do the thing where you like put your hand on their head, whatever. Like again, like I'm using this term in the sense of like you are respecting them as an elder without having even knowing them, but you are choosing to respect them. That elder may not even respect you just because like they don't even know who you are. Like they expect you to come up and like put your hand up to their head, whatever that thing is called.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So my point is you can. And that's why I'm saying this, right? Like look at it more. I don't think it's more so like two bubbles pushing against each other, right? I think it's again because respect is in different areas. It could be authority, it could be the person, whatever, right? Like I think it's more so. I'm looking at all the boundaries that we have together.
Yeah.
And I am consciously choosing to adjust where I'm at in relation to those, like whether or not I'm pushing past your boundaries or not. I'm adjusting. Whether or not you are doing the same for me doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if like you're doing the same or not doing the same, because I think it's what do you call it? I think I know where I'm going with this. I think essentially what I'm saying is like we've obviously built up trust and we built up a friendship. I'm gonna respect you like, wait, I'm trying to think where I'm going with this.
Where are you going with that?
even if there are even if there are
Maybe it's
times,
not maintaining equilibrium, because I think if you're following what you said earlier,
yeah.
then that is the sort of force fields, right?
Yeah,
That's
what?
the equilibrium between us, right? Maybe it's respect is acknowledgement. And what I mean by that is, because like I was going along with what you were saying actually, because for example with the elder, because that you kind of got me there with the like they do the mono thing. I think that's what it's called.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're not very good Filipinos. But you give them respect, right? But that's giving acknowledgement that yes, you are validate. Essentially, it's like validation, like you are an elder. Same thing. It goes with like two people who are strong and don't want to fight. I acknowledge your strength. You acknowledge my strength. I respect. Same thing with parents. I acknowledge your role as a parent. So I think it's acknowledgement actually, because you give respect. You are given. You get back respect. You respect strangers. So it's not necessarily like a boundary that's meant to be upheld. It's acknowledgement. And I think where respect crosses the quote unquote crosses the line, or where it becomes disrespect, is where you, so to speak, invalidate what somebody should be acknowledged for.
Yeah. And
like a parent, like you disrespect your parent because they should be treated a certain way in the context.
Well, you're not
they're acting in.
acknowledging their role. You're
Their
not
role,
acknowledging
You're
that-
disregarding the role. Going back
Yeah.
to what you said, it's closer to almost like disregard.
Yeah.
So I'd actually say the opposite would be like the what's the word? The dynamic should be disregarding versus acknowledgement. That's
Yeah.
actually the line of respect.
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's-
happy with that.
I'm pretty happy with that as
I'm
well.
happy
Because I
that.
think oftentimes, like in relationships, when a girl or a guy feels disrespected, it's when they don't feel seen or heard in what
Yeah.
they were saying, or like,
Yeah.
for example, like, in the case with Kayla, like,
Yeah.
Maybe she's made it clear before that like, like she doesn't like when you engage with other women or like entertain like
Or how,
follows
yeah.
or like whatever the case may be. By doing that and trespassing in that way, like she may have not felt seen or heard in the sense
Yeah.
of like she may have voiced those things out before,
Yeah.
but because you weren't listening or like didn't understand whatever, those things weren't seen.
Yeah.
Therefore, not acknowledged, disregarded, and disrespected.
Yeah,
I think
would
that
be
makes sense.
acting, and in that case, I was acting in a way as if I wasn't in a relationship with
Yeah.
her. So
Yeah.
I'm disregarding, like I'm acting in a way that disregards the relationship I'm actually in.
Yeah, and I think you can
Yeah.
apply that to all the scenarios we talked about. So
Yeah.
in sports,
Yeah.
if a player is not listening to a coach when he's telling them to do something,
Yeah.
well, you're not acknowledging their role as coach, your role as player. You're not
Yeah.
acknowledging their experience. You're not
Yeah.
acknowledging whatever. When you are listening, you're acknowledging it. Same thing with like what do you call it, bosses, teachers, whatever. When you're
Yeah.
staying silent in class, you're acknowledging that that's the role. And disrespect is when you. Well, wouldn't you say though? Oh, I think that's why disregard is a good word, because
Yeah, that's why I said it's the dynamic.
it's not just not know, because like I wouldn't call it disrespect if like you. So, opposite of acknowledgement could also be like what do you call it, naivete? Like if you don't.
Yeah, but still
No.
disregarding even.
Well, no,
yeah.
but I think the point of disrespect is that you see that that's the role, and you disregard it. That's why.
Yeah. But if
I
you're
wouldn't-
naive about it, then you couldn't call it respect.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it disrespect either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It wouldn't be disrespect. It wouldn't be respect. But I wouldn't call it disrespect though. I think
Yeah.
you're just naive at that point.
Yeah, it's a mistake. It's
It's a mistake.
You didn't know any
Yeah,
better.
Exactly. But when you see the role, you see the dynamic,
Yeah.
and you willingly go opposite of it, you disregard it, which is why I really like the disregard. And then I think
Disregard and acknowledgement.
disregard, we were on the right track, and then
Yeah.
you got the other side, which is acknowledgement. I think
Yeah.
is the perfect.
Yeah, because I think
other
the
side.
equilibrium thing brought me to like the force field, the this back and forth sort of thing. But no, I like that disregard, and it ties all the way back, like disregard, acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good. Anyways, thank thank you for watching. Please leave a like. Do you agree with us that respect is disregard or acknowledgement? Leave in the comments. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Nice.
Nice.
Clap.
There's a sign.